This is like one of the coolest haircuts of the entire year, or even the last couple years. You need to know this haircut. So I actually am hoping to bring out some of that natural curl and wave pattern of hers, because she's as far as doll heads go, kind of lacking in that area. But it'll be great to kind of show exactly how to manipulate the hair to get it to actually move and push in different ways, especially somebody with very, very, very straight hair, like myself actually. We're not going to pre-section, which just means, yes, I have a plan. And what some of the things I'm looking at is how much of her fringe section will allow me to really push forward, because this haircut requires a lot of education with your clients. You really have to teach them how to style their hair, because I feel like it can be hard for them to really understand the whole push forward and it is so important. So even though I'm not sectioning, when you're working organically through, you're really thinking about which way the hair naturally falls, how much of this can you push forward, and what is it naturally doing. So instead of sectioning off the fringe, I'm gonna just take from where the top part of the fringe would start, sectioning it straight down, just for a visual kind of guide to help me see like what is more or less their hairline. We have a little bit more freedom with this one to take things like bigger bang sections, more hair, because she is going for it. So I have 2 diagonal forwards on the sides, including some of that hair right just below the mid part of the high recession, and just taking it a little further out. Yeah, I think I could add a little more hair to here, because we are, like I said, going for it. It is similar. However, this one, we are going to take, instead of just taking a small little triangle right here, we're gonna take this still thin, so we're not gonna dig deep back into the hair, but wide, nice and wide. And we could leave maybe 1 hair on the corner, but it's almost the length of the whole section, but shallow. Instantly, you can see the shorter piece that is pushing away from her face, and that's exactly what we want this to do. Great. Now, before I move on, I do like to kind of go in with my scissors, pull everything forward, and just, if there's anything to strengthen, which here I'm really liking what it's doing, but I do start my styling process now, and I really start looking at the haircut, checking things out, and styling it kind of as I go, letting them get used to it too, and their hair get used to it, because it really shouldn't feel forced. It should feel like, because you're carving around their natural wave pattern, should actually feel like the hair is wanting to do all of those things, right? Remember I said we were just kind of looking at them as side areas, not necessarily like a parting itself, because we really want to move kind of organically and naturally through this hairstyle. See how each section is kind of around. So we are just at the parietal ridge, and I'm applying a little bit of that Perfect Me, that lotion, to the ends of her hair, pushing that forward and cutting away, and then coming inside your section from behind, cutting forward, so that you have a nice feather piece. How big of sections you take doesn't matter so much here as it does matter how much hair do you have in the ends, and what are you looking at to see what you're carving. Now we're going to add some layer to the top part of this section, but to maintain my balance here through this face frame, I'm gonna cut the other side, and then we're gonna come back, and then we'll add the layer through the top. So now you're still standing on the same side, pulling your sections towards you, but still cutting from the underneath. Now that we have everything moving forward, we've checked our perimeter, we've made any tweaks we need to make sure it has balance. So right on top of her head, right here, is where you're gonna kind of start to see that little like shark fin of like hair that like starts a layer right here. And if I feel like her hair is getting a little bit like strange in texture, or just I'm losing the slip in the ends that I need, or I feel like it's not gonna style great. That middle section, now that I have like kind of more of the texture I wanna feel in the ends, I can move forward. Holding it straight up, going in kind of like at that shortest point where I want that little like layer to start. Big open strokes up, and then from the front, back. Open strokes forward, and you can regather if you feel like you need to carve in another little like feather right there. We're gonna start pivoting here, 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 and we're only cutting kind of that top surface layer. So now from that center point, pivoting around, taking my guide from that center point, over directing towards the center, straight up, carving forward, and then looking at where that natural break is to create a little like feather in there, or a little like nice like defined piece. So we can go a little lower down, direct over, but see how I'm kind of running out of hair. So now that I've kind of just played with it a little bit, just started to get it going where I want it to go, I'm gonna turn her sideways and give you a better view right there. Now her lengths aren't super, super thick, so I do wanna think about the fact that maybe I don't want to do as much interior carving on somebody with thinner hair that I would with somebody with much thicker hair. But definitely, she is the Shullet. We're doing some interior carving. So I'm gonna part this down the center, and then just above the occipital, parting it in half. Straight out, looking for that natural kind of dip right here. And I'm gonna go right at where that natural dip is and straight towards me, preserving the lengths of her hair. I'm gonna over direct it to the previous, so not all the way to the center, but just to the previous, really creating some layers in there. So when I say interior layers, it's layers that are happening inside the haircut that are gonna concave to her neck, and they're gonna like actually contour to the shape of her body, which is great. They're to really like help the hair hug around her head and give her a lot more shape through this underneath. So even though she has like very fine hair, I still would want to do this on her if I'm able to get away with it. But for the sake of just kind of working through the haircut and being done with it as you go, I'm just gonna kind of tighten up that perimeter and then move on. If I don't take a larger section, I'm actually gonna have a harder time really defining those ends and making them feel like the feathers that I want them to feel like. So now for this last piece, over directing it all of the way back and up and over her head. There's barely any hair to cut, so I'm not gonna be really intense about the petals because she's very fine in that area, and I wanna have enough hair here to kind of help me go to the finish line. Before I get to the opposite side, I do kind of wanna just dial in her lengths. So it's like you're cutting the hair so that it falls away from the face, but then you're styling the hair all very much towards the face, right? Towards the face and lifted here. Having their lengths like a little bit finer and more wispy, but they really want lots of contouring shape around their head, lots of volume, lots and lots of layers cut around and away from their face. I want to take it up a little shorter, go a little longer with it, maybe not do the interior layers and really just have this carve all the way around her head shape. However you feel is the right answer for your client is probably the right answer for your clients.